Alrighty, we are back again working on the 1973 Fiat 124 Coupe. In the last episode, you would have seen me fixing the left and right lower rear window shelf, we'll call it. If you didn't catch that, I will put a link to that video in the description. Now, finished all that, time to move on to the biggest task of the rust repair so far. The floor pan and the firewall. Now, you can see here I've got this frame set up, and that is because I thought originally I could use the, I guess they called the seat mounts, these things, the seat rail mounts from the donor car I had the seat rails for the passenger side, and I thought possibly, I was hopeful I could use them on this side, but it's not the case. These cars, you have a passenger right and left, and you have a driver's right and left. They are not the same. They are sort of a direct mirror of each other on this side. So unfortunately, I can't use the ones that I took out of the donor car. So I'm gonna have to take these ones out and rebuild the bottom ends, because if you can see through there, we'll get a better look once I've pulled them out. You can see through the bottom there and sort of this here, it's missing the bottom mount part. So I think what happened is when this whole floor rusted out, it also rusted out parts of these seat rail mounts. So I've made up this jig, because once these frame rails get taken out, I need to know where they need to go back in. It's quite easy sort of roughly seeing where they should mount to at the back, but with this jig bolted to the passenger side, in theory, I just have to take this jig out, take these out, fix these rails, and then I can bolt the rails that have been fixed back to the jig, bolt it all in, and then I know exactly the location where I need to weld them back to the floor pan. So that's the seat frame rails. This whole area here, I think I need to break into 4 parts. So, part 1 is this lower section of firewall. You can see it's got all holes through it and it's all pitted out. So what I'll probably end up doing is cutting straight across here and down, replacing that whole bottom section. It spot welds to the floor pan along here. So that's the first part. The second part is the rest of this floor that tucks underneath this cross member. This all has to come out. That's part 2. Part 3 is obviously these frame rails need to get rebuilt. And part 4 is this inner sill, because if you can see up the end here, it's all rusted out and holes. So what I think I'm gonna need to do here is chop straight along here. I'll probably do it all the way up to this cross member here, and then rebuild this lower section of this inner sill. So that is the task. Now, first thing is to get these 2 seat rails out to see what we're dealing with and how much of it we actually need to rebuild. Alrighty, so now you can see I've taken out both the seat mounts. A couple of spots drilled a bit far and went through. It's quite tricky to take them out because a lot of the spot welds are in very hard to get places, but it's okay, they're out. I've done a quick cleanup again of all around this area. Now, I think how I'm going to tackle this is do that firewall first, get that all in, then do this floor panel. I'm going to cut this firewall out now so that I can actually see the full extent of what I need to build, because this actually comes in and tucks under this bit here and goes sort of about that far back in there. So let's do that now. Okay, after a couple of attempts, we finally have a tacked in lower firewall section. So you probably saw me attempt to make it all as one piece by sort of hammer forming out this curved section here. But after a couple of hours of hammering away, I realized that I don't think I was ever going to get it to fit this existing curve. So I scrapped that idea and went with my option 2, which was creating this one piece here, which is all sort of flat through this section here and then kicks up at the bottom here, and then creating the curved section as the second piece and then welding them together down this seam here. So I made this piece here with this wooden template there. So that was quite easy because this is all a big flat section here. And then for this curved section, I made the good old masking tape template, which you would have seen me doing. So that sits sort of in there and gives you a really good guide, because then you can use the tape for these bends and then flatten it all out to give you a really good idea of how big you need this piece here before you start cutting it out and all the rest of it. So now these two sections are tacked together. I know they all fit. They fit together and they fit in the car. I can go through and stitch up this seam here, smooth it all off, make it look all pretty, and then move on to the next step. And there it is, all done. All the weld's done, ground back, lovely, looking good. Now, jumping back to the inside of the car, and this is what it looks like when it's all sitting in place. Obviously there's still like a little bit of fine tuning to go there. I'm not going to weld it in yet because I want to finish this floor first, because the floor tucks up under there. So I'll probably finish the floor, put the floor in first, and then put this lower section here. I might probably tack weld it in maybe just to hold it in place so I don't have to use these magnets. But that is the plan, and that is the finished lower firewall. And back outside of the car again. Apart from that firewall, there have been a couple of other things that I've been doing off camera which I haven't filmed, purely because I think you guys are probably getting bored of watching me shape, weld, grind, shape, weld, grind. So two of the things I've done while I was doing that firewall was this section right here. So I will put a little picture up there of what it looked like before. It wasn't so much that the top was rusted out and looking ugly, it was on the other side. It was all pitted out through here, and after I pushed a screwdriver up a couple of times, I was poking holes pretty easy, so I thought I might as well cut this whole section out and redo it, and that is how it has come up. This is probably the best panel patch repair I've done so far. You can see here where the weld was, but it's all really smooth through there. I spent a lot of time with the dolly and the little slapper file to get this as close as I could. So there was this spot here and this lower passenger side wheel arch. So there was all rust holes coming through here. I think water's come down here and just sat in this bottom section here. So I chopped up there, across there, chopped that out, welded this in. This isn't as good as that panel, but it's still pretty good. Like a little bit of really small amount of filler will sort all that out. So with all that stuff done, that is all I've got time for in this episode. I'm going to tackle the floor, I think, in the next episode, because that's the next big priority, is to sort that floor out, because once that's done, it can really, this whole project can start moving ahead really quick, because then it can start going to bodywork and finally getting it painted all one color. So I'm looking forward to that day. That's going to be a big milestone. But that is all we got time for in this episode. So thanks again for watching. Don't forget to drop a comment if you want to know anything or tell me anything. It's always good to read. Thanks again.